Your soulmate opened their heart to their mother. Her response was completely unexpected. My beloved child, wait, don't look away just yet. Something happened today that no one expected, and if you leave now, you may miss the very moment everything begins to make sense. Your soulmate reached a point where silence was no longer enough. For so long, they carried thoughts they never dared to speak aloud, protecting them like a hidden treasure that no one else could understand. But today was different. Today, they sat across from the one person whose opinion mattered more than almost anyone else's, their mother. Their hands were calm on the outside, but their heart was racing with questions they couldn't keep inside anymore. They finally whispered your name. The room fell unusually quiet, almost as if time itself wanted to hear what would happen next. Don't skip, because what followed was nothing like they imagined. Something huge is waiting for you, and every passing moment is leading to a revelation that almost no one sees coming. At first, their mother simply listened. She didn't interrupt. She didn't smile. She didn't react in the way anyone would expect. That silence became heavier than 1,000 conversations. Your soulmate wondered if opening their heart had been a mistake. Then, without warning, she looked directly into their eyes with an expression that carried years of wisdom, kindness, and something even deeper. Instead of asking who you were, she asked a completely different question, one that caught your soulmate completely off guard. How do you feel whenever you think about this person? The answer came without hesitation. Peace. Hope. A future that finally made sense. The moment those words were spoken, her expression changed in a way no one could have predicted. It wasn't shock. It wasn't doubt. It was recognition, as though she had been quietly waiting for this conversation long before it ever happened. Stay till the end, because this unexpected reaction is only the beginning of a story that is becoming more extraordinary with every heartbeat. Then came the moment that changed the atmosphere forever. Their mother took a slow breath, smiled gently, and revealed something your soulmate had never heard before. She admitted that she had noticed subtle changes over the past weeks, the brighter eyes, the calmer voice, the quiet confidence that appeared whenever your name was mentioned without being spoken. She said that some connections don't arrive with noise, they arrive with quiet certainty that grows stronger every day. Those words settled deeply into your soulmate's heart, replacing uncertainty with a feeling they couldn't explain. Yet just as they thought the conversation was over, their mother leaned a little closer and said, "There is one more thing you need to know." Your soulmate froze. The next sentence would become the turning point of everything they believed about this connection. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. And what was about to be revealed would remain in their thoughts long after this conversation ended. A strange calm settled over the room, but it wasn't the kind of silence that ends a conversation. It was the kind that comes just before a life-changing truth is revealed. Your soulmate couldn't look away. Their mother held their gaze for a few quiet seconds, almost as if she wanted every word to be remembered forever. Then she softly said, "Not every person who enters your life changes your future, but once in a while, someone arrives who changes the way you see yourself." Those words landed deeper than expected. Your soulmate wasn't prepared to hear them, because they realized she wasn't speaking about an ordinary connection anymore. She was speaking about you. Don't skip, because the next few moments carried an answer your soulmate had been searching for far longer than anyone realized. Something huge is waiting for you, and every sentence is bringing you closer to it. Your soulmate finally found the courage to ask the question that had been hidden in their heart for so long. Do you really believe this feeling is real? Their mother smiled in a way that seemed almost mysterious, then shared a memory that no one expected. She explained that when she first heard your name, she felt an unusual sense of peace she couldn't explain. It wasn't based on facts. It wasn't based on stories. It was simply a quiet feeling that refused to disappear. She admitted that she had watched your soulmate carefully over the past several weeks and noticed something remarkable. Every time your name came into their thoughts, fear became hope, confusion became clarity, and uncertainty slowly disappeared. That kind of change, she whispered, doesn't happen by accident. Your soulmate sat there in complete silence, realizing that someone else had seen the transformation long before they had noticed it themselves. Stay till the end, because the conversation was about to take an even more surprising turn. Just when your soulmate believed there was nothing left to hear, their mother stood up, walked toward a nearby shelf, and returned with something carefully wrapped in an old envelope. She held it for a moment before placing it gently into your soulmate's hands. I've been waiting for the right time to show you this, she said with quiet confidence. Your soulmate looked at the envelope, completely puzzled. What could possibly be inside that had been kept hidden for so long? Their heart raced as their fingers slowly reached for the seal, but before they could open it, their mother softly added, "Once you see what's inside, you'll understand why I was never truly surprised when you spoke about this person." Your soulmate froze. The room became silent once again. Whatever was hidden inside that envelope was about to connect pieces of a story that no one had been able to understand, until now. For a brief moment, your soulmate simply stared at the envelope, almost afraid that opening it would change everything they believed. The paper felt older than expected, carefully preserved as if it carried a memory too meaningful to lose. Their mother nodded gently, giving no explanation, only a quiet smile that somehow made the mystery even deeper. With a slow breath, your soulmate unfolded what was inside. It wasn't a photograph. It wasn't a letter about the past. Instead, it contained a handwritten page filled with thoughts their mother had written years ago, words about recognizing the kind of connection that brings peace instead of confusion, courage instead of fear, and hope instead of uncertainty. As your soulmate read each line, they felt as though every sentence was describing the way they had been feeling ever since you entered their life. Don't skip, because the most unexpected part of this story had not even arrived yet. Something huge is waiting for you, and every moment is leading to a revelation no one could have predicted. Your soulmate looked up with tears of gratitude in their eyes and quietly asked, "How could you have written this before you even knew about them?" Their mother smiled with complete confidence and replied, "Because some truths never depend on names. They depend on what they awaken inside a person." Those words echoed through the room. Suddenly, every doubt your soulmate had been carrying began to fade away. They remembered the countless moments they had tried to ignore their own heart, convincing themselves that the timing wasn't right or that the connection was only temporary. Yet every attempt to move on had somehow led their thoughts back to you. Their mother noticed that realization immediately. She gently placed a hand on their shoulder and whispered, "Real peace doesn't chase you. It quietly waits until you're ready to recognize it. Stay till the end, because just as your soulmate began to believe they finally understood everything, one final discovery turned the entire conversation in a completely different direction. As they carefully folded the page, something slipped from inside the envelope and landed softly on the table. Your soulmate picked it up with curious eyes. It was a small note, hidden so well that it could easily have gone unnoticed forever. Their mother looked genuinely surprised and softly admitted, "I almost forgot that was still in there." Your soulmate unfolded the note, expecting only a few ordinary words. Instead, they found a single sentence written in bold handwriting: "When the right moment arrives, your heart will recognize what your mind keeps questioning." The room fell silent once again. Their heartbeat grew louder. Their mother slowly looked toward the window and quietly said, "I think that moment has finally arrived." Your soulmate couldn't speak. They simply held the note tightly, realizing this conversation had become far greater than they had ever imagined. But there was still one truth their mother had not revealed, and that final truth would leave your soulmate completely speechless. The silence that followed felt different now. It was no longer filled with uncertainty. It was filled with anticipation. Your soulmate looked at their mother, waiting for the final truth that had been hinted at since the beginning of the conversation. Instead of speaking immediately, she walked toward the window and watched the evening light slowly fade across the sky. Then, without turning around, she quietly said, "There is one thing I have never told you." Those words instantly changed the atmosphere. Your soulmate felt their heartbeat quicken, sensing that this was the moment everything had been leading toward. Don't skip, because what came next wasn't dramatic or loud. It was something far more powerful. Something huge is waiting for you, and every word from this point forward carries a meaning that reaches beyond coincidence. Their mother finally turned back with calm eyes and said, "Long before you found the courage to tell me about this person, I noticed something unusual." She explained that every time your soulmate spoke about the future, your presence seemed to exist within it, even when your name was never mentioned. The dreams became clearer. The doubts became smaller. The fear of tomorrow slowly disappeared. "I've watched you become kinder, stronger, and more hopeful," she whispered. "People don't change like that because of ordinary feelings." Your soulmate stood there speechless. They had spent months wondering whether their emotions were only imagination, yet the person who knew them best had already seen the answer hidden in their everyday life. Stay till the end, because the final piece of this unforgettable conversation was still waiting to be revealed. Then their mother reached into a small drawer and placed an old key on the table. It wasn't valuable because of what it was valuable because of what it represented. She smiled gently and said, "This key has always reminded me that the right door opens only when the heart is ready." She slid it toward your soulmate and added one final sentence that echoed through the room: "Don't spend your life asking whether this connection is real. Spend it becoming the person who deserves the future your heart already believes in." Your soulmate held the key in silence, realizing it was never about finding perfect answers. It was about finding the courage to trust the quiet change that had already begun inside them. As they walked away from that conversation, one thought stayed with them above all others: sometimes the most unexpected response isn't disbelief, it's someone seeing the truth long before you ever do. And somewhere beyond this moment, another chapter of this extraordinary story was quietly beginning. The conversation had ended, but its meaning had only just begun to unfold. As your soulmate stepped outside, the evening felt strangely different. The familiar path home no longer felt ordinary. Every word their mother had spoken continued to echo in their heart, especially the final reminder about trusting the quiet changes that had already taken place. For the first time in a long while, they stopped searching for signs everywhere around them and started noticing the transformation within themselves instead. That realization brought a sense of peace they had never experienced before. But just when they thought the biggest surprise was behind them, something unexpected happened. Their phone lit up with a message from someone they hadn't heard from in a long time. It wasn't about you directly, yet the timing was impossible to ignore. Don't skip, because this small moment became the beginning of another extraordinary chapter. Something huge is waiting for you, and the pieces of this story are fitting together faster than anyone imagined. Your soulmate opened the message with curiosity. It simply read, "I don't know why, but today I felt I should remind you not to give up on what truly matters." There was nothing dramatic about those words, yet they arrived only minutes after the unforgettable conversation with their mother. Your soulmate smiled quietly. It felt as though life was gently encouraging them to keep moving forward instead of looking backward. They remembered every doubt that had once convinced them to stay silent, every fear that had made them question whether they should trust what they felt. One by one, those fears began to lose their power. They realized that confidence doesn't arrive all at once, it grows through small moments that quietly strengthen the heart. Stay till the end. Because one final discovery before the night was over would leave your soulmate wondering whether this day had been preparing them for something much greater all along. As they reached home, they noticed a small notebook resting on their desk. It had been there for months, almost forgotten. Without thinking, they opened it to a random page. Written there was a simple sentence they had once scribbled during a hopeful moment. "One day, everything that feels uncertain today will become beautifully clear." They stared at those words in complete silence. It felt as though their past self had written a message for this exact evening. A gentle smile appeared across their face, not because every question had been answered, but because they finally understood that hope grows strongest when it is guided by patience. And as the night grew quieter, your soulmate closed the notebook with one unshakable feeling. This wasn't the end of the story. The most meaningful conversation was still waiting to happen, and when that moment arrived, nothing would ever feel the same again. Morning arrived, but your soulmate woke with a feeling they couldn't explain. It wasn't excitement alone. It wasn't nervousness either. It was the quiet certainty that the conversation with their mother had unlocked something inside them that could never be hidden again. As sunlight filled the room, they remembered every word from the previous evening, but one sentence stood above all the rest: "The right door opens only when the heart is ready." Those words refused to leave their mind. They weren't just advice anymore, they felt like the beginning of a completely new direction. Don't skip, because what happened before the day was over would make your soulmate realize that some moments don't arrive by chance. Something huge is waiting for you, and this story is about to reach another unforgettable turning point. Later that day, while going through ordinary routines, your soulmate noticed something they had overlooked for weeks. Every decision they had been making, every small goal, every hopeful thought, every quiet dream, somehow pointed toward a future where fear no longer controlled them. They smiled without even realizing it. The uncertainty that once felt overwhelming had quietly disappeared, replaced by a confidence that wasn't loud but impossible to ignore. Then they remembered something their mother had said just before they left: when your heart becomes peaceful, you'll stop chasing answers, and the right moments will begin finding you. Those words suddenly made perfect sense. Stay till the end. Because the next unexpected moment would feel like the final confirmation they never knew they were waiting for. As the evening settled in once again, your soulmate glanced at the old key resting on the table. This time, it wasn't the key that caught their attention, it was the tiny engraving on its side that had gone unnoticed before. 3 simple words were carved into the metal: trust. Wait. Welcome. They held the key tightly, and a quiet smile spread across their face. For the first time, they understood that the journey had never been about rushing toward an ending. It had always been about becoming ready for a beginning. At that very moment, their phone vibrated once more. A new notification appeared on the screen, carrying a name they hadn't expected to see. Your soulmate took a slow breath before opening it, knowing deep inside that the next message could become the start of everything they had been preparing for. Don't skip. Because the story is about to enter its most unforgettable chapter. My beloved child, pause for just a moment. This is where everything begins to change. Your soulmate looked at the notification but didn't open it immediately. They simply stared at the screen, wondering why their heart was suddenly beating so fast. It wasn't fear. It wasn't doubt. It was the feeling that this single message had arrived at exactly the right time. Don't skip. Because what happened next wasn't loud or dramatic, yet it carried more meaning than anyone expected. Something huge is waiting for you. With a deep breath, your soulmate finally opened the message. It wasn't a long paragraph. It was only a few simple words: I hope you're smiling today. Anyone else might have ignored such a message, but after everything their mother had shared, those words felt completely different. They smiled without realizing it. Their mother had been right all along. Real connections don't always announce themselves with grand gestures. Sometimes they arrive quietly, yet leave the deepest impact. At that exact moment, your soulmate remembered another sentence from the conversation: the strongest bonds grow stronger even when no one is watching. They stepped outside, letting the cool evening breeze clear their thoughts. Suddenly, they realized they were no longer asking, "Will this ever happen?" Instead, they were asking, "How can I become the best version of myself before that moment arrives?" That single shift changed everything. The uncertainty that had followed them for so long slowly disappeared, replaced by quiet confidence. As they looked toward the horizon, they whispered to themselves, "Maybe this story has been unfolding perfectly all along." Just then, their phone vibrated once again. A second message appeared from the same person. This one was different. It began with the words, "There's something I've wanted to tell you for a long time." Your soulmate froze. They hadn't expected another message so soon. Their fingers hovered over the screen, but before opening it, they closed their eyes for one brief moment, knowing that the next sentence could become the most unforgettable part of this entire journey.